Hi, this is Megan doing my midterm project for Women's Studies, Women in the Body. This video is going to be mostly about the Unit 5 section of our class. It was over biopolitics. This one really resonated with me when we were reading the article about Nextdoor.com. It resonated with me because I am a police employee, and it was obviously about body, race, and politics in terms of policing. And they mentioned in there that they were saying that it was racial profiling from the police side of it, yet by reading the article you'll see that most of the things that were being reported were because of citizens, which is what the police is meant to do, is protect the citizens, and they're the ones that call things in, which let us know that we have to go out for them. So it's not really politics, I would say, by government, is what I mean by that. So it's not really the government that's responsible for this racial profiling, in my opinion, because we get these tips from citizens. So it says in that article as well that 57% of the stops were of black people, even though 27% of the population is black. So it's very offset. I found a book here as well with some statistics. This is going to be the growth rate of the population. As you see here, the second one is going to be African Americans. They have a very small population compared to the other races. Is going to be Asian, and this is Hispanic, so this also shows the growth rate. So it's not, I wouldn't say, the police fault for having all these stops. The citizens are the ones calling in, asking us to check into these people. And the article also states that at some point it said that when the police get a tip, they have to look into it. And for most part that is true, but when we get calls, I have one for example, in a neighborhood, someone called in saying, there's this black man standing on the sidewalk smoking a cigarette, I need an officer out. I wasn't the person to take this call, but the person who did told me about it. They said, well, what is he doing that the police need to come out for? This person said they just don't belong here. It was a more upper class neighborhood. They were being basically racist. We asked this person again, what is it that the police need to come out for? She said, well, he doesn't belong in this neighborhood. He's just smoking there, standing a cigarette. So this call taker actually said it's not illegal to be black on the sidewalk. And we didn't come out because there was nothing going on. So, to some point, like if there is an actual crime, we obviously will go out. But in terms of people just being racially profiling, we're not actually going to go out for those. We try to talk them out of it and say, get them to realize that they're being sorry but ridiculous. So that was just one example that it's not exactly, people have a lot of problems with police these days that we racially profile, and we don't. We go off what the citizens ask of us. And so if they say, there's something going on and it happens to be a black person, that's not our fault. You're calling in that tip and we need to look into it. So even if all these, what they called self-initiated stops by police, are a higher percentage of black people, it's because citizens are calling in tips saying that, someone stole my bike, it was a black person, or, something like that. So we're, looking for these people that match these descriptions, and the descriptions we get from citizens tend to be that race. And so I don't believe it's, a police aspect that needs to be pinpointed on them. It's, I think people need to turn it around on themselves, as that article was kind of doing. It showed that these citizens on Nextdoor.com were the ones putting in the tips. And the citizens that actually could look in on themselves and see it, unfortunately, were the ones who were of a different race. They're the ones that could see that it isn't right, because they're not actually doing anything wrong, but they're the ones getting called the police on themselves. So if unfortunately the white population could see that what they're doing is just being a little paranoid, things could change. But also another part of that I kind of want to get into was the political side of it, because not only is police a part of government, but it's a part of politics as well. So there's obviously a lot going on today with politics, with the presidential election coming up. And what's going on in there a lot has to do with biopolitics. There's a lot going on in biopolitics right now with this new presidential election. So what I've noticed, there's a lot of women's rights politics going on here, even though, some may think we're past it, but we're not. A lot of Hillary Clinton's campaign, she says a lot about women's rights, about needing more maternity leave, mandatory maternity leave, things like that. And it's still a very big issue in our society today. And further on the women's politics part of it is birth control. Like, it's everywhere in politics. Should it be required from your employer? Is it something that needs to be managed by them, or is it something personal that you need to do for yourself? So it's, even though it's our bodies and we should be the ones making the decisions, it is very much present in politics right now. Even so, going away from just women's issues in politics right now, there was one question on one of the recent debates of a young man asking, do black bodies matter, or do bodies matter? Or do black people matter, or do people matter? Something on that line. And the candidate that the question was asked to said black people matter. But I think this is going back to not politics or government being the issue of racial profiling, or just pinpointing race as an issue. I think that more goes back to how citizens are the problem of that create the problem in politics, because it was the citizen that asked. They're the ones putting the question up, making the politicians believe that this is an issue. Instead of, it would just be, why can't it just be people matter? Why does a politician have to say black people matter in order to be elected, or to get the votes, or to get the points? It should be all the same, but we bring up the question, which makes them have to address it. And so it gets involved in politics even more. So I think people really need to look into themselves and wonder why politics are so into not only race, but bodily matters that shouldn't really come up in politics. I think they need to see that it's kind of their own fault. You say, oh, well, the government shouldn't have any control over this, but you kind of bring up the issue yourself, and you make it so it has to be brought up. Because if the public's asking for, something to be done about healthcare or abortion, a lot of issues with Planned Parenthood right now, then they're going to have to address it, so you can't get mad at them for that. Same thing back with the police. If you tell them that this black person committed a crime against you, you can't be mad at them for stopping black people and questioning them when they see them doing something suspicious, because they just perhaps came from a call where someone mentioned that a black person did something, and they may, have evidence. So it's just, people really, I think, need to not be so ready to blame or to put judgment or anything like that on the government, because it's really easy to do right now. But yeah, just that Nextdoor.com really resonated with me because of the police ties, and obviously the biopolitical aspect is very prominent right now in society. So it was very easy to see those connections happening right now in our society. And it was brought up in that Nextdoor.com article that perhaps, things like this should be shut down because there are so many racial profiling issues going on. But you know, that's back to politics. If you think that, you know, if you are being racist, unfortunately, you can't take away this person's right of freedom of speech. So you bring back the politics into this. It's just never gonna fix itself unless people realize what they're doing instead of trying to put the blame on somebody else.